Welcome to EPG Parashala, the lecture series in computer science for the postgraduate program. This is the compiler design course and we are on module 33 to discuss code generation based on tree rewriting and an introduction to code optimization. The objectives of this module are to learn to generate code using a template based approach, to understand the necessity and the need and how to do a tree rewriting, and to understand the need for a code optimizer in the phase of the compiler. So, typically so far what we have done is the code generation algorithms, it uses an evaluation order by some rearranging of statements or some heuristic reordering, etc. And then it is going to assign some registers for a particular variable and for instructions, of course. And then you it will basically select a appropriate target language instruction set and use that to finally generate a code corresponding to every tree address code available to it. Now this was actually used as a basis where can we automate the process of code generation completely rather than developing it from scratch. Now when you have a gen code algorithm, it has to be given all the instruction set, all the instruction format, the addressing modes, all those things will basically have to be given, and that is going to be a cumbersome process. So the simple code generator had to define some data structures, etc. So rather than that, can we do a template based approach is what is the next approach to code generation going to talk about. So where it is done by using what is called a tree rewriting based approach. Assume that the evaluation order and registers are available, and then the intermediate language could be converted to a representation as a tree. So you are, in addition to the intermediate code, you are going to convert this intermediate code into a acceptable form, and you already have a lookup kind of scenario where if this is the form, the corresponding code will be something like this. Okay, that will be already designed by the algorithm and it will be available as a lookup. So my aim is not to generate the final code, my aim is now to generate an intermediate tree-like representation using the tree rewriting procedure. So that procedure I should know, what templates it supports I should basically know. So my aim is just to convert this representation of intermediate code, which is available either as a DAG or as a basic block or a flow graph, whatever it is, and then convert that into a template tree like representation. So once that is done, then it is up to the lookup table to look at this corresponding input representation and convert it to corresponding target code, which is available as a template. So here the tree should correspond to one of the predefined template tree. Okay, you cannot arbitrarily generate a tree. It should obey the already available templates, because based on that template only you have a final code available. Okay, so therefore that is the approach which is used here. After matching with the template, there is a predefined code for every tree and it is generated. Now this is what we are looking at as the flow of representation. So your input will be a 3 address code, and this is to intermediate code is converted to a template tree. Okay, that is the algorithm here. So your job will be to look up this predefined template available and then simply convert this to one of the template tree available. Then that is given to the code generator. The code generation will look at this, will get a template, map this template with the database and then generate the final code by just looking it up here. Okay, so this is what is the flow. Now input tree is reduced into a single node by applying a sequence of tree writing rules if I have a larger tree in place. Okay, so that is done in a bottom up fashion where you will reduce the input tree into a smaller subtree. Okay, so the tree rewriting rules is called as a translation scheme, and that basically has the following template. That is, it has got a replacement. This replacement is done for a given template, and what action should I basically do? So this action area here will correspond to the actual assembly level code. Template will be the tree, okay, and this tree is reduced to a single node. Okay, so what is this tree trying to be reduced? That is your replacement here. So replacement can basically take a template And if that is my situation, the template has to be converted to a replacement. What action should I basically take for a code that correspond to this particular template? Now this template correspond to your predefined template tree, and the replacement corresponds to a single node. That single node will typically be either a register or it could be a memory, and the action will be the code fragment corresponding to a assembly level code depending upon the target machine. Okay. Now let us take this example. So I have 8 rules which is available in the textbook Aho Sethi Ullman, and there are other books also available. We will put it in the e-text basically, where this is expanded further for working on. So here this is my single node register I, and that is going to be replaced, that gets the value from constant C. Okay, I can use this as constant C. The other version of the textbook called simply as C, capital C small c. Capital C indicates is a constant. So what am I saying here? I have to get the constant value into a register I, that is the rule. Okay, so the corresponding target code will be move hash C comma Ri. So hash C is going to be an immediate value available. Move this into Ri. Okay, the next one is register I will get a value from memory A. So what does it basically say? A is a variable that is typically available in a register, that is basically put into register I. So the instruction corresponding to that will be move A comma Ri. Okay, now this is another one which is interesting. Now my target is a memory. Okay, and if the target is a memory, I have to do an assignment of this tree. Okay, this is basically my tree assignment, where I have used colon equal, this is my template tree, colon equal to is my interior node, left child is memory A, right child is register I. So what does it basically say? From register you assign it to memory. So the target is also going to be memory. Okay, so from register assign it to memory. So you do a move Ri comma A. Okay, so you do a move Ri comma A, where Ri corresponds to register Ri, and that is going to be A. So the target, as you could see, it is nothing but the memory location corresponding to A. Now this is different. When I have an IND here, it says indexed based addressing. Okay, so the final target will be a memory. Okay, and I mean the value will be a memory. So what will it basically have? Register J is assigned to index of register I. So register Rj comma index of register I, so Ri. So normally when it's index based addressing, Ri will typically contain an address. If you go dereference the address, you will get the contents. So that is what is indicated here. So this is one more template which is going to be using the indexed based addressing. The next rule is register I have to compute addition of these two, okay, and then that is used as an index. Okay, target is a register. Now const C and register I, so this is going to be contents of register I, where contents will be with an offset of C. Okay, contents will be with an offset of C. So I have a C comma C of Rj, that is an index based computation. So C of Rj, and that is moved to register Ri, so it is done to Ri. Okay, the next one is a simple addition. Register I, register J, result is in register I. So I have to do an addition here. So add register J comma register I, result will be in typically Ri. So this is the next rule, and correspondingly the last two rules, register I is here. Now we know what this basically tells you. This is nothing but an indexed computation with an offset. So that is computed here as C of Rj. Okay, I can also use this, I can also compute this particular node based on the already available rule, which is rule 5. So this will be done, which is going to be available in register I. So it is nothing but move C of Rj, right? So this is nothing but C of Rj, that is the computation. Moving it to register I is what we have done here. Rather than that, here what happens is, this is nothing but C of Ri in this example. Okay, this is register J, of course. So C of Rj, added with register I, result is in register I. So C of Rj Ri, okay. And then the final one is register I is given as register I plus const C. Now const C, if it is going to be any C, I can use add Ri comma hash C, that could be my scenario. But if this const value is going to be 1, okay, I can use an increment function, increment Ri. If this constant C is going to be just 1, I can use the increment Ri function, which is going to be simply incrementing the register content by 1, and the result will also be in Ri only. So if C is equal to 1, this is nothing but an increment Ri, okay. So using these 8 rules basically, supposing say you want a representation something like this, A of I is equal to B plus 1. So what I should do first, I have to add B and 1, B with 1, that is increment B, and then assign that value to A of I, that is my situation. So the corresponding template looks something like this. Now this is nothing but B plus 1, which is the last template which we have just now seen, and A of I, okay, this is my assignment operator. So this will be, I have to reduce this tree, I have to reduce then this tree. This tree can be reduced very easily because it is simply saying increment by 1, increment B, where B could be moved to register first, okay. That is a possibility here. And then how do I do this? This is one indexed, this is one addition or rather offset and then indexing of that offset. This is again offset and an indexing of the offset. Both register will be added here, that is indexed and then that is going to be assigned, okay. That is what we are trying to look at. So let us see this tree. First one is you apply rule 1 and move A to R0. So you are having A here, move A to R0, that is your situation. The next one will be applying rule 6 and then add stack pointer comma R0. As you can see that this is my add here. So I have to add the stack pointer register with whatever the contents of CA is. CA is now moved to a register, therefore I have to add register based computation, and then apply rule 7 to index it using I, okay. I is available at the root if you could, this is I, okay. So I can use that as an indexing situation, and then I have to apply rule 2 for the right subtree, where I will move B into R1, increment R1, and then the root will be an assignment operator. LHS R0 is an index, so I do a star R0 and then move R1 into star R0, result will be in star R0. So that is going to be my situation. So you have to reduce the rule such a way that you can apply one rule after the other and then try to accommodate all the possible, accommodate the input tree into any one of the possible trees. Of course, we can actually generate our own template trees depending upon what operations we want to basically permit. So all we now need is, you have the input 3 address code, you have to generate a database which will have a tree, a corresponding tree and what the tree indicates, and if that is a tree input, how will the corresponding code be generated as an output. That should basically be defined. And then what we have to do is how to convert the input 3 address code to this intermediate tree is what we have to give as an example. Once this is done, we are done with our template based approach to code generation. Now this template is typically done with the syntax directed translation scheme itself, okay. So for example, if I have register I producing const C, this is going to be my situation where we said the constant C is moved to register I, the corresponding SDT for this scheme construction can be also appended, where I can say register I produces const C means move hash C comma Ri, and then I can also indicate it like this rather than having it as a tree. So this is basically easier for representation. Register I produces mem A means move A comma Ri. So move the value of A into register Ri. Then memory produces colon equal to memory A register I. This means register I is moved into the variable A, okay. And then this is index based addressing, where I have two registers, register I and register J, where it is a move on an index, okay. Indexing is on register I. So I have move rj comma ri because result is in memory, therefore it is going to be having an indexed addressing on ri. And then this is nothing but register I is equal to index plus const c register j. So this is an offset of register j, and then I have to move it to register I. Okay, so I have done that, and then this is register I is plus register I indexing plus const say register I. This is an add operator. So adding c of rj, okay, with ri, result is in ri. Okay, so that is what this basically. So this, as you can see, this ind plus const c register j is similar to whatever is available here. Okay, so that is done with respect to, and then that is to be added with register i's content. And the last one, register I will be plus register I register j, where I am adding the contents of register rj and ri. Then plus register I const 1. As I said, if you could have a const c here, this can be an add operation. If it is only const 1, I can use an increment operation itself directly. So this also does some amount of optimization where we have used increment operator compared to an add operator. An add operator will be costlier. It is going to take 2 inputs, whereas this is going to be taking only one parameter, which is working on the operand on ri. Now, so far we have done 5 phases of the compiler, where we had a analysis phase and we had a synthesis phase. The analysis phase split the tokens, split the input into parts, and then we formed a, we ensured that this input sequence is correct, it is valid, it is verified, etc. And then we went to what is called as an intermediate representation. From that representation, we looked at some 4 approaches to code generation, and then we've got the final code in place now. Now, this generated final code need not be an optimized code, it need not use optimized set of instructions, as I have just now pointed out that if there is no template available, whether I am going to add 1 to a register or whether I am going to add 10 to a register, it will be simply an add command which will have an immediate operand. So add hash 10 comma ri. So I can avoid that. Okay, if I have a hash 1, I need not look at as add. I can call that as a simple increment function. So how do I do that? That's what we are trying to look at here. The generated code by the code generator or intermediate code need not be efficient, and means have been done for getting efficient code using DAG and instruction selection. So we have reordered the instructions, we have labeled the nodes with registers. All those have been done with the idea in mind that you need to reduce the computation cost and to get an optimized code which is going to be generated. If you remember, we have talked in one of the modules that where you had some 10 instructions, if you could if you could change the sequence of instructions, we could reduce the number of instructions from 10 to 8. Okay, that was one of the examples in module 29. So we can look at that as an optimization procedure. Now, the criteria for code improving transformation is they should have the most benefit for the least effort. So when I try to optimize, I should have the most benefit for the least effort, and transformation should basically preserve the meaning of the program. So this is the first property of the code optimizing transformation. So where the optimization should not change the output of the program. So whatever could be your input and whatever optimization you perform, you should not change the output of the program. So I think we talked about one structure preserving transformation where we incorporated algebraic property there, where I said that you can use the properties of mathematical identity to optimize your code. So mathematical identity means like adding a 0 with any variable is going to be the same variable. So we should not exploit this in the process. We should ensure that the sequencing of addition is basically preserved. So we have to be correct in using the mathematical identity properly. So when I say y cube, for example, if I have to compute y power 3, it is nothing but multiplying y 3 times. So y into y into y. So I should not skip one statement where I will simply compute as y squared. So I have to ensure that it is basically preserving the meaning of the program. The second thing is transformation must on an average speed up the programs by a measurable amount. So optimization sometimes could slow down the program. Prevention should be taken for this and avoid any slowdown of your program. So just because we want to fasten your or increase this instruction rather reduce the instruction cost, you should not have a large amount of code available there, thereby reducing the speed of your program. That should not be the case. The last one is transformation must be worth the effort. Okay, the time that is spent on optimization code should be well utilized. Okay, and so you should not spend so much of time in optimization itself, which is much higher than what you spent on coding. Okay, so that should be the thumb rule for determining how much of an optimization is basically required. Sometimes even without optimization, a code could run faster compared to finding an optimized code and then making it run. Okay, so that should be the property. So you have to be ultimately speaking on a crux. The last point is the crux of all the 3 points. Transformation must be worth the effort, and it should basically be semantically preserving what is being conveyed in the input. Okay, so this is the position of the code optimizer. I have a front end, I have a code gen algorithm here, and this is where is my intermediate code. I can apply optimization in one of the 3 positions, either here or here or here. Okay. Now when I do it here, it is at the user level. The user could basically change the flow of the program, that could change the algorithm to reduce the complexity of the program, or the user could adopt a different loop strategy, or the user could change the if else if to a switch, whatever it is. So it's again completely dependent upon the user. So that is one area of optimization. So when you are designing, this is what we have already talked in the previous slide, where we said that the user should be spending more time on coding rather than spending more time on optimizing code. When the user is creating a program itself, that code should basically be completely optimized. Okay, so that is one area of code optimization. Second area is at the intermediate level, where you have the basic block in place or you have the DAG in place. Can I try optimizing at the DAG level? This can be talked about, this can be thought of as a machine independent compiler optimizer, where you are doing it at the intermediate level. Finally, I can also look at the target code, where I can look at the target code to check whether it is going to be any possibility is there for optimization at the assembly language level. So where can I use lesser number of registers, or can I change instructions? For example, the increment instruction, which we just now pointed out. So add #1 comma R0 could be replaced with an increment R1 instruction. So that is possible at the target level. And then you have one concept called as peephole optimization. That is also typically done at the target code level only. So this is machine dependent, this is machine independent optimization. So you can have the optimizer either at this level or at the both the levels, but again with the thumb rule that optimization should not be overdone in order to increase the speed. You will end up actually reducing the speed of your program. So that should not be the case. So you have here 2 levels of optimization. First one is called as machine independent code optimization, where we do 3 things. First one is called as the control flow analysis, second one is called as the data flow analysis, third one is called as transformation. So control flow analysis is how data flows, how the control transfers from one block to the other basic block. Okay, this here we will have what is called as global optimization, and data flow analysis is looking at, again look, this will be considered as local optimization. Transformation is whatever could be possible within a particular basic block. Okay, so here we have this structure preserving transformation and algebraic transformation as part of the optimization procedure here. Now this is looking at others, and control flow and data flow will also include the loop optimization that is possible. Okay, loops are one areas where you can optimize much better, and control flow can also be thought of in terms of procedure call optimization, okay, or recursive optimization. Both are possible here. Other one is machine dependent code optimization, where we have register allocation, where you can optimize on number of registers as well as utilization of special instructions like increment, decrement as against subtract or add. Now, this machine independent optimization operates at the intermediate code level, and this one operates at the assembly level, where typically it is done using what is called as peephole optimization. Now, this is what we have looking at. We are looking at first the control flow analysis, data flow analysis, as well as transformation that is going to be available part of the code optimizer here. So, we will first look at this particular block, and then we will move on to peephole optimization later. So, this is what is the first thing which we are going to be discussing. So, the advantages of breaking like this is the operation that is available need to implement high level constructs. They are made explicit in the intermediate code actually. Okay, so you have a star to implement to represent multiplication. So, they are explicit, so therefore optimizing here is going to be advantageous. Second thing is the address calculations like A of I etc. are going to be directly seen, so therefore it is much better to optimize here, and the intermediate code is typically not dependent upon the target mission. Therefore, optimizing here will be a generic optimization procedure rather than a particular optimization procedure. So, typically the intermediate optimization can have function preserving transformation, where we will do common sub-expression elimination, dead code elimination, copy propagation and constant folding. You will also do loop optimization here, where we will talk about 3 optimizations: induction variable elimination, reduction in strength and code motion. Now, we will consider this example for our situation, where we will be looking at the quicksort program, convert this to a basic block and a control flow graph, and then we will it is a recursive procedure, and then apply all our optimization techniques here for consideration. So, this is the quicksort program, where we know that you have a partition function here, which is going to split the array into 2 halves. So, these two are to rearrange depending upon the pivot. Elements less than pivot will go to the left, greater than pivot will go to the right. That is what is done here, and then you will call quicksort with the smaller area, the left area and the right area separately. So, you have a quicksort call here, you have a quicksort here call here. So, this is the program. So, this program has been now converted into a set of 3 address code. So, there is no need to discuss this. So, as you could see, if n is less than or equal to m, I is equal to m minus n, j equal to n, v is equal to a of n. These are the 3 statements which is available here. There is a while and there is going to be 2 recursive calls. I am not looking at the recursive calls, there is a while and there are 2 whiles here. Okay. So, there will be one outside loop, there will be 2 inside loops here, and there will be one initialization which is going to be here. So, that is what is available here. These are the first 4 steps of initialization. This is corresponding to one loop, and this is the next loop L2 and L3. Those will be the second and third loops. So, now I have 6 basic blocks totally. So, that is converted to a flow graph. We will be working on this flow graph, okay, and then use that for our optimization in the next session. So, the next module we will discuss this. To summarize this module, we have looked at template based code generation. We have also learned how to construct a template tree based on tree rewriting rules, and we have looked at an example for code optimization, introducing the necessity for code optimization and where is it done, how is it done. Thank you.